Let's check in on Matt Rhule, Nebraska Cornhuskers. What's going on right now in Lincoln? First few weeks on the job, how's it going? We did a video on this from a larger scale yesterday, talking about the different head coaches and the new crop of head coaches rather. But I want to really hone in on Matt Rhule and his program because of the process, because that's what's happening right now in Lincoln. I got a chance to be in Matt Rhule's program when he was at Baylor, got a very brief glimpse into what that was like. And every single team meeting, something he talks about consistently is the process. And the reason why that's important is when you're focused on the process, you're not worried about the results. And all the great coaches have that same kind of approach. Saban talks about it a lot. Kirby Smart talks about it a lot. They very rarely are ever worried about the end result. Of course, that's the obvious goal, but you don't get to always control the result. What you can control is the process. So what is that process for Matt Rhule? Well, I think there's a couple of things that we're looking at so far in this time in Lincoln that we can sort of break down to a degree here. And the first is what they do on the recruiting trail. To this point, under Matt Rhule, they have gotten 5 commitments. And within those commitments, those are going to be what we call OKGs, meaning our kind of guys. And that label is typically thrown onto a player who is someone that you want in your program. And he's, like I said, your kind of guy, but maybe he's not a 5-star. Maybe he's not a 4-star. Maybe he's not everybody kind of guy. But for you, he's exactly what you're looking for. And this has been Matt Rhule's calling card long before Nebraska. A guy I want to focus on that was under Matt Rhule is Jalen Petrie. Jalen Petrie was a 3-star out of high school, was a safety, played a little bit of linebacker when he got to Baylor as well. They moved him to that star position. So he was kind of a hybrid linebacker safety. And again, only a 3-star. Not everybody wanted him. He wasn't everybody's kind of guy. Got to Baylor, worked his tail off, and got developed to perfection, really, honestly, to be honest with you, in Waco under that staff. Ends up getting to the NFL as a second-round draft pick, number 37 overall. And now he's balling out on Sundays with the Texans as a rookie. So that's kind of the trajectory. I'm not saying every single guy that Matt Rhule recruits is going to end up being a top 3-round pick, but that's the kind of formula that they are going to use at Nebraska. And to be honest with you, that's going to be something that works in the Big Ten West. I know they're going away with divisions here very soon, but for the most part, between Nebraska, between Iowa, Northwestern, I mean, you keep going down that side of the Big Ten, and a lot of those schools recruit the same kind of player, kind of in that 3-ish star range, give or take a star. And so for Nebraska, the benefit is, okay, we're going to get our kind of 3-stars into this building and develop them to be the 4 to 5-star caliber, if you're catching my drift. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, we would love to have you at the party. We have had well over 2,000 of you join us over the last few months from the Nebraska Cornhusker faithful. We're so glad to have you at the party. If you haven't yet joined us, jump on in. The water's fine. Portal season, bowl games, recruiting season, turning up the heat. This is your home for college football 12 months out of the year. We do this show, The Hard Count, every single day, but we are live on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 Central, 2 Eastern. Roll party. Also, follow me on the socials at JD Piquel on Twitter and on Instagram. The other part of Matt Rhule's process outside of the recruiting trail is going to be very much associated with his staff. And to put a finer point to that, of his staff so far, 6 of the guys are from his Baylor staff that have followed him to Nebraska. Some of the notable ones, one, Marcus Satterfield, who was, I believe, a tight ends coach for him when he was at Baylor for a period of time. He's now going to be the offensive coordinator. And he was the offensive coordinator for South Carolina last year. And to be honest with you, the personnel at South Carolina at times, especially on the offensive line, wasn't phenomenal. Still found a way to get more done than maybe they should have based on their personnel. And it wasn't a perfect marriage there at South Carolina. It wasn't like he just knocked it out of the park, but with what he wants to be as an offense, want to be pro-style lineup with the fullback at times, want to be able to run the football effectively, control the line of scrimmage. That's who Nebraska has always been. That's who Nebraska has prided themselves on being, winning in the trenches. And with Marcus Satterfield's approach as the OC, that's going to be what they get back to being. It may not work in the first year. I'm not saying it can't. I'm just saying be patient, because that's very much so a personnel-driven scheme. So the transfer portal and the recruiting pieces of this will be crucial as they continue to develop and evaluate. They have like a 2 to 3 year plan, typically, is what a different Power 5 head coach has spoken about with Matt Rhule that was previously on his staff, I would tend to say that's kind of the way that I would lean as well. But again, with the transfer portal, don't be surprised if it ends up being a little bit quicker than that. Another notable hire, Corey Campbell, is now the head strength coach at Nebraska. And I have a little Corey Campbell story that I think sums up well who he is and what he's bringing to the table as Nebraska's head strength coach. When I was at Baylor, he was my RAC coach. So the way that most Division I college football weight rooms work, there's so many players, there's so many racks to where you need a coach at every single rack with a group of 3 to 4 kids. So I'm at the rack with Corey Campbell. It's max squat day, and they give you your number that you're supposed to hit that day. And the number that I had on my sheet was going to be a PR for me, like most weight I'd ever done in my life. Get under it, everyone's juiced, hit the rep. I'm feeling good. Whole place is going crazy. Like everyone just has so much juice on max squat day. It's beside the point. I was feeling pretty good about myself. Corey Campbell thought the rep was too easy. Leans in and very calmly and succinctly whispers in my ear to put some real weight on the bar. So at that point, I was like, all right, let's roll. Like that's the kind of juice and energy and just excitement and pulling the best out of you that Corey Campbell's going to bring to the table at Nebraska. Spoiler, put more on the bar, did it, no big deal. I'm washed up now, but that's the kind of head strength coach rather, you're getting in Corey Campbell. And when you remember Nebraska, when they've been solid, when they've been elite even, they have that superior conditioning, that superior strength. They have that bully mentality. And I think Corey Campbell and Marcus Satterfield go hand in hand in pushing Nebraska towards that kind of brand, towards that kind of style of play. Because Matt Rhule was brought there because of his experience in the trenches, or in some small part because of his experience in the trenches. That's what they're going towards. So when we look to the more modern pieces of college football, NIL and the transfer portal, Nebraska and Matt Rhule are going to be players in this field. But I want to make sure we temper this expectation. You're going to see some schools treat the transfer portal like a shopping spree. You're going to see them at the checkout aisle, or checkout line rather, and their cart will be chocked full of guys. For some of them, more power to you. Maybe you need that. I'm not saying Nebraska doesn't. But I would just say this. If you're a fan of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, don't be overwhelmed if you get to the first day of fall camp and you have single-digit number of guys via the transfer portal. Because I think for Nebraska, they're going to be tactical in how they go about this, and they're going to have some self-awareness with how they go about this. This past weekend, they had 3 guys in town for a visit from the transfer portal. 2 of those guys were on the offensive and defensive line. What was the problem last year for Nebraska? What, again, was Matt Rhule brought there to fix? The trenches. And so the self-awareness to, hey, we got to get better on this side of the ball, quick, fast, in a hurry. We want to develop, we want to recruit well at the high school level for this, but we know if we want to win games in 2023, we have to go out and get big human beings to play on the offensive and defensive line. So I think that's going to be the place where you see a large emphasis from Matt Rhule and company in the transfer portal, and the NIL assets that they have at their fingertips is going to make them competitive and give them access to a lot of this top talent within the portal. So it may not be a shopping spree, but I promise you, with what they're cooking at Nebraska, they're going to make sure they get the key ingredients starting via the portal on the offensive and defensive line. So keep an eye on that. Recruiting our kind of guys, OKGs, as we like to say in the football world. Don't be surprised if it's not the 5-star guy every time. It's going to be around the 3-star, and you're going to hear about them on a national level come their junior, senior year. Big-time hires in terms of Matt Rhule retaining guys that he has had success with in the past. And Corey Campbell and Marcus Satterfield, I think, make a lot of sense, and you're glad to see them a part of the process, continue to be a part of the process in Lincoln, Nebraska. And then finally, NIL and transfer portal, they're going to use it as a tool, but it's not going to be the fix-all, solve-all at Nebraska. They don't want it to be. They don't need it to be. Just watch what they do here and trust the process. This has been The Hard Count. I'm JD Piquel. Nick Brake, lifting heavy, doing every single thing that you see here. We're so glad to have you at the party. We're so glad that you're choosing us to spend your time with here on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It's a 12-month-a-year sport, so we cover it like that. Every single day we got you for college football content. Make sure you're locked and loaded. We're going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.